sells for JCVD. And I know he got paid. I know he's an actor. And I know he's he was like Mr. Asia, one of the just jack dudes around. He could play the drums with his pecs. Dwayne Johnson would be jealous. But I love that he was selling for him. And that made the fight a lot better. And I think another thing that makes this fight better is how vulnerable JCVD looks in this fight. So you have Bolo selling it, and you have Jean-Claude Van Damme actually looking vulnerable and yelling and like pulling off the powder to the eyes, the blindness. Really, I don't know about really well, but it all feels like a very earnest fight. And that's why I think this movie is one of the fight kind of classics that people go to over and over.
Not just that, it's from the very start, you went out of your way to mention to all our wonderful listeners, thank you, everybody, but to mention to our listeners that you didn't just watch the final fight a few times to prepare for this, because we've both seen this movie untold numbers of times. Mm-hmm. You sat and watched the whole movie, and guess what? So did I.
Yep.
Last night, I sat down and I started thinking, okay, let's the first scene, I love the music. So I just sat down and watched it. This martial arts movie has from a general filmmaking perspective, has so much heart and a great soundtrack that really backs it.
And I don't know if you noticed during the final fight how the camera angles got so much different. So when Frank gets the powder thrown in his eyes, there's a wide shot and it's a dolly shot that goes left and right for about 30 seconds. They pull away to the wide shots. A lot of these fights are kind of at one static angle to capture them really fast. But the final fight, they really busted out all the stops. I love the dolly shot at the end. I thought the extras actually in the stands were really good. I loved how they were just waving the money. It'd be nice and cool in there. I think the wide shots and then coming back in, the way they positioned the mat, the floor, it really created a stylistic fight. And it feels, I like that they saved, you're supposed to do this, but they pulled all the stops for the final fight. And after you watch it a few times, you really realize, wow, that's a really great dolly shot they just did. That's smart that they pulled for the wide shot. They did some really cool stuff. That they did slow-mo. They did, they showed the same kick 3 times. They really wanted to get a bang for their buck, and they did it in this final fight.
Yeah, I mean, and even though they pulled all the stops for the final fight, though, I'm again going to say this. I think all the fights uniformly, the fight aspect of this movie is still glorious. It's more montage-y leading up to the final fight. Gosh, it's such a great movie. I had a friend on Facebook just today, talking about how horrible this movie is. And I get it. Look, we all have the things that we like. But it's like, if you enjoy a Van Damme movie, period, the end, I'm expecting that you adore this.
Mm-hmm. I can see how people call the cheesiness out. But I think the earnestness and the kind of competition and the villain, I don't know, this JCVD's performance gives you enough to like. You just got to be open to it, I think.
Oh, a friend of mine, and he was being cheeky at this point, but I honestly do believe that he does not like or respect this movie. But he said, I reserve no statements of greatness for movies featuring Ogre from Revenge of the Nerds.
Oh, geez,
and when he said that, all of a sudden, and I was inside, I was getting angry that he was I'm like, you do not hate on you must know I love Van Damme. You must know. You've been my Facebook friend for years. You see what I watch. And I was I was actually getting annoyed at work as I'm seeing this when I take a Facebook break every couple hours. And then when he said that, it's like, okay, at least you're going to be funny about it. I accept your criticism. It's not for everybody. It's just for most people with good taste.
Yeah. I think it's too easy to pick out the flaws, but that's why I like doing these. That's why I like this, like doing these podcasts with you. And I think we try to look at the little things in here. And another thing I want to look at is, I sent you this question earlier. You're one of the Kumite fighters. What would your personality be?
Okay. Plus size wushu.
Yes. Because that was your training, right?
Absolutely. I'm going to be the oversized guy doing Chinese opera acrobatics. And so, but
you're like
because
a Chris
of that,
Farley, but not a Chris Farley. You know what I mean?
But because of that, I'm never going to do a double somersault, even if it's off of a high point to a lower ground. But if at my size, if I just do a single somersault, even though it almost looks like it's in slow motion because I'm so big, people are just going to be like, whoa!
They just don't expect how athletic you are out there.
Right, just jump spin kicks, and you see it's like smoke signaling because my leg is so big. It's like a windmill coming at you, but still just imagine though, you do that to back off your opponent. So now it's a strategy to back off your opponent, and then you rush in with the jabs, with the Chong Li jabs. Chong Li was a good jabber, I'll give him that.
Oh yeah, he got with his hands down. They came up quick.
A lot
the
of
one
those-
part I don't like though is Chong Li rolls. Does a roll only so that JCVD can do a jump split.
Right.
I was like, there's no tactical. Chong Li would not do that. He would
Right.
not roll. That's the one false thing. I mean, the split's great. That's the one part I didn't like about this
So
fight.
I have a defense for that scene, although the way they depicted it, I can't argue that you can tell that he was doing this. But in a real fight, if someone was about to try and basically bum rush you, just get you around the waist and tackle you to the ground, if you started that way and then you saw someone start to jump and you don't know what they're doing, but they're doing a jump, like a jump kick, your reaction might be to turn it into a roll. But it did not look like he turned a tackle into a roll. It just looked like, I'm going to do a front roll into him.
Maybe he was hoping to get. I know there's a guy named Ryan Hall. He's an MMA fighter and he currently fights in the UFC. And he does a lot of rolls into leg locks and then gets heel hooks on them. So do you think Chong Li was trying to get a heel hook?
I don't know what at that point we were just having like a nice moment of fandom for. It's funny to call it that actually because it's like this was before Van Damme had fandom, but that almost seemed
This is how he got fandom.
We were staging a hero moment.
Yeah, trailer moment. I think if I had to be a fighter, John, I would be because I boxed and I was like a wrestler, so I'd be like the Randy Couture-esque, the wrestle boxer kind of guy.
You know what I picture you as?
What?
I picture you as the like punching through wooden building supports Dolph Lundgren from The Expendables.
Oh my, yeah, sure.
Like when he fought Jet Li.
Oh, banging his head into stuff. What a great fight.
Right. Like I see you as the guy who, but you see, you're a big, heavy brawler, but you're smart about it. Which you almost never see on screen.
I love a good Dolph Lundgren fight.
I see you being the big guy that the little quick guys are like, oh, I know how to handle these big, slow guys. And then like when they try and do something clever, you just jab them because they think you're going to do one of those windmill haymakers that you see from a mile away. And you're just going to give them a good big dude jab to the face a couple times.
They're so underutilized. I mean, the jab is such a great weapon that not too many people use. Gotta throw a jab.
So glad. Like, you see, Chong Li looks like the guy who's going to do these supervillain haymakers and just rip someone's head off. And yet most of what he does are jabs and kicking the waist or lower.
Yep.
Leg checks and jabs. He's a smart fighter who is an idiot about fighting because of this hubris.
I mean, and then he just, once he starts losing, he falls apart.
Okay, yeah, dude, because he doesn't know how to get hit.
Yeah, because he probably doesn't get hit much.
Yeah, he doesn't. That's just it. Dude never learned to get hit.
Remember when Brock Lesnar was steamrolling people, and then when he fought like Cain Velasquez or different fighters, when he started getting hit? Well, no, he took a ton of punishment from Shane Carwin, so I can't say that. Never mind. Scratch that. But final thoughts about this fight before we get out of here?
Ooh, I just think it's amazing. And, a lot of these movies, when the fight is over and you see someone kind of getting their award or it's the award ceremony or everyone's telling them how great they were. Of course, normally that's the end of the movie, and this movie doesn't quite do that. But, like, when he was sitting up there and he fixed his hair. His hair looked different from the whole movie. But when he was standing in front of the Masters of the Korukai, I'm just like, I was not waiting for that scene to end. And I think most movies like this, I'm waiting for that scene to end. But I was in it. I was so happy. They had that nice, almost mystical chime music in the background as he's, hearing about, how he fought with inspiration. And even though that seems like such a canned thing to say, like I was there. I was as there today, rewatching it right before we recorded, as I was when I was like 10 and I was watching Mystified by this amazing movie. So I think it's just it's so much heart in this movie. What about you?
If I was Frank, I'd just be pissed at the refs for knowing that a dude threw a substance into my eyes. Because there's a lot of powder.
But that's an interesting point. Remember, Mr. Lin told us there are only 2 rules. Mr. Lin.
Oh yeah, no. What the 2 rules were? What?
No fighting outside of the ring.
Yeah.
And don't get thrown out of the arena.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But that instead brings to my attention, why the crap is there an official in the arena?
I guess just to keep because he lets Chong Li kill a guy too.
Right. He's not stopping anything. If anything, he gets in the way.
Yeah, and he did get in the way.
He starts the fight and then he gets in the way. But Lynn said, of course, he might have just been, speaking colloquially, but there are only 2 rules, guys.
Yeah, I liked him a lot. He was good. But this was fun, man. Thank you for joining me. I'm glad we got to tackle this classic.
Dude, wonderful movie. I'm so glad to be here.
All right, so for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, and for John Levingood, this is Final Fights. We'll see you next week.